Hi, beloveds. This is Tamala, your empowerment priestess, and today we are talking about our mental and emotional bodies and our saboteur. Stay tuned for lots of great information. Please make sure that you subscribe and click the bell so that you get notifications when I upload my videos every Wednesday. Also, please comment, let me know your thoughts, because this is an important topic that all of us need to be clear about and be working with during the next 6 months. All right, so we're talking about our emotional bodies and our mental bodies and how they function, how they work, and how the saboteur uses them to help us self-sabotage. So first we're going to talk about, this is us or me, right? This is our emotional body, and our emotional body is a few inches to a foot out of our body normally. 6, 8, 12 inches. That's where it resides. Our mental body is further out from that. It can be a foot to 3 feet out from us normally, okay? So if everything is functioning the way it should be, this is what it looks like. Now, most of us are not functioning the way that we are designed. So instead, what we have is a mixture of these, right? And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So let's imagine that we spend a lot of time in our mental body, right? We're thinking all the time. That's where we spend time in relationships. That's where we spend time in self-care. That's where we spend time in our work and our scheduling, all of that stuff, right? We're really mentally focused. Well, what happens is our mental body will begin to actually expand. And while we may think, oh, well, that's wonderful, that's a wonderful thing. It's our mental body is getting bigger, but we're getting smarter, right? But that's not what this means. It means that the energy of your mental body is getting bigger. And so that's why when you can walk into a room and people kind of can step back from you, that's because you're projecting either your mental or emotional body. And we're going to talk about the emotional body in a minute. But as you're thinking and you're all in your head, right, you're doing all of this mental activity. This is getting bigger, and it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger. And you see what is happening here is it's taking over the space of your emotional body. And what happens to your emotional body? It shrinks. It becomes smaller. It becomes more compressed, right? And it becomes diminished is the right word. And so if you've ever met people who don't have a really good grasp on how to engage emotionally with other people because they're in their head all the time, this is what has happened to their energy field, to their mental body, to their emotional body, and to their resonance. This is what that looks like. Their emotional body has been diminished, and their mental body is so big it takes over everything. And so what do you do to combat this? Well, the first thing that you do is you connect with your emotions. So if this is you, if you're in your head all the time, find something, at least one thing every day that you can concentrate on that is an emotion that you prefer. So it would be, maybe you're outside and you see a wonderful sunset, okay? And you want to concentrate on how that makes you feel. You notice, wow, this has really shifted my energy. This has shifted the way that I feel in my body. It shifts my thoughts so that I can be more clear or less intense, right? So if you can find one thing in your emotional body to focus on each day, what's going to happen is the emotional body is going to get more resilient, okay? It's going to get healthier, because what you've done is you've taken the energy outside of your emotional body and you've given that energy to your mental body. And so your emotional body is going to get healthy, right? So when it gets healthy, then you can come into more balance. Now, does that mean that you have to spend less time in your mental body? Well, if you want balance, you do. But what if your mental body is your most supportive attribute? It's not about diminishing your creativity, your inspiration, your joie de vivre. Is none of that, okay? What it is getting you the opportunity to come into balance so that your mental and emotional bodies are both healthy. All right, so say you are the kind of person that is very emotional, right? You connect to your emotional body and you spend a lot of time in your emotions instead of your mental body. So what does that mean? Well, this is what happens when your emotional body begins to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It is going to expand, of course. And what happens is it expands out past your mental body. And what happens to your mental body? Well, of course, you already know this. It begins to shrink. And so as your mental body shrinks, you have less access to those things in your tool chest of how to be able to manage your emotions. So what am I talking about? When you're in an emotional state like this, right? When your emotional body and mental body have literally changed places. Your emotional body is out here and your mental body is in here. Your mental body has become diminished, right? And you're just all emotion. This is where the majority of conflict that's on the planet right now is coming from, is this inversion of our emotional and our mental bodies. Because what happens is, number one, they're out of place. And number two, when our mental body shrinks in and is diminished, literally, we don't have access to our mental capacity. There's a saying about insanity, right? About, oh, I was just crazy in the moment, right? That happens because the mental body, it collapses on itself, and because it's so overwhelmed by emotion that the emotion then is what everything is being lived by and through. And I'm going to give you an example of this in a minute. But when this is happening, you can see how the energy field looks, right? That's not healthy. And so what do you do when you're in this state? Okay, when you discover that you have allowed your emotional body to run rampant, right? What do? So think about one mental exercise that you could do that will strengthen and feed your mental body. Because remember, we're looking for balance. And so with this mental body being all squished up here, if you can think of one thing that your mental body can do, okay? I can't remember anything but breathe. Okay, so breathe. Take a few minutes and just breathe. And as you breathe, you concentrate on your breathing. And the reason that we're concentrating on our breathing is because we're not feeling anymore, because that's what all of this is. This is feelings run amok. And so as you're concentrating on your breathing and you're outside of those chaotic emotions, you can take a minute to really relax, and shift your energy into, okay, what can I do next? What is available to me? What mental tools do I have that are available to me so that I can take control of my own personal experience right now? And there's going to be lots of things that you've accumulated over the years that are in your toolbox that will help you do that. And if you don't have any, let me know, because I have lots and lots and lots of them. So when we're in this state, now what we've talked about so far is the imbalance, right? Where one of them is bigger than the other, one of them diminishes the other, right? Now we're going to talk about how the saboteur uses this to create havoc in your experience. Don't forget, you can download the Love Warrior prayer that was given to me by Archangel Michael in 2017. It's in the heading